and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Oh, feels so good. We are back. Episode 93. After a 2-week hiatus, we are back. And if you forgot, I am your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, a.k.a. Callie, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Volda Shield. What is going on, Shield?
I'm almost out of practice. Like I had to remind myself how to set up everything, how to make everything look good, basically. But hey, here we are, episode 93.
Yes.
And we're still here. It's either ignorance or it's just the fact that literally we have nothing else better to do on a Wednesday night. I mean, we might as well talk about sports.
It's bliss. It's bliss. It's not ignorance. It's bliss.
Yes.
We'll go with that. But it's good to see you, my friend. And also, it is good to see our Vikings expert. It's only fitting that we bring him in after the everything that's been happening in Minnesota as of late. We welcome back Mikey Ryan. Mikey, welcome back, my good sir. We got some nominations for you, and then we also are going to talk Vikings, the firings, all that stuff. So welcome back, Mikey, and we'll announce the nominations in a second, but we got a lot to talk about, man. How are you feeling about all this?
Yeah, it's kind of I'm glad to be back, by the way. I forgot to say that. Like, it's been a long time. I was a little busy during the season and stuff like that. But I feel like it was a time coming, with the firing of MikeZimmer and RickSpielman. It was just time with like not going to the playoffs after 2 seasons. It's sad to see them go. I liked MikeZimmer a lot. I liked RickSpielman a lot. I liked a lot of his draft day decisions in terms of drafting down and getting more draft equity and stuff like that. But I'm excited to see what the Vikings can do. I'm hoping not for a complete rebuild because we have a lot of good pieces around, but we'll see where they go. Exactly.
And, there's a lot to unpack with all of these hirings and firings and whatnot. It's going to be interesting, especially when everybody thought it was just going to be Zim, but it was also Slick Rick too, which is somewhat surprising, somewhat not. But Glancy says, second best guest on. Sorry, bud, but we know who number 1 is.
Glancy.
Yeah, well, the thing is Glancy, he should be thankful because I did not put him on the absurd statement of 2021 list. He's got to get his title back or something. But anyway, speaking of which, before we get to that. MinneZona Pick'em. We had a fantastic run with MinneZona Pick'em. I just want to send out claps to all the zoners that participated and everything like that. We appreciate you guys doing that, including Mikey. Mikey, you were up there.
Yeah, I was up there for a little bit. I fell off after like a week or two.
Right.
And then I kept forgetting to do it because it usually gave me a notification, but then it stopped for whatever reason. I don't think they wanted me to win.
Technology.
Technology, man.
Hey, I swear, sometimes it's your best friend, and sometimes it's just
it
hates you.
Just hates you.
Yeah.
So let's hope we have a good connection here. Knock on wood. But we congratulate none other than a former cadet, by the way, Mikey, Jack Vickers with the victory, the 2021 Pick'em champ.
Nice.
We got claps going on. DJ Airhorn going. Congratulations to none other than Jack Vickers winning the pick'em. So technically, we did the tiebreaker, and yours truly actually won. But
Yep.
Jack Vickers was right under, and Jack was the closest. Joe Service made a very, very good push to win as well, but Jack in the end got the victory. So congratulations to Jack Vickers. We'll have a post for you tomorrow. We'll have it up for you, and then you win the Zona bundle. We got the merch going, and we'll get it set up. It'll take a little bit, but hey, we'll get it going to you. So congratulations to Jack on winning MinneZona Pick'em. So next thing. Nominations, Voldy. Nominations, Mikey. Let's start off. Obviously, we have the classic ones. So the favorite classic segment, favorite special segment. So we got all that. But we got to get to the first one. And it's the best guess. So let's start off with your defending champs. The 2020 best guess of 2020, Double Trouble nominated for...
Yep.
The second time. It's going to be hard to beat. It's going to be hard to beat.
It is.
Very hard to beat. But after that, we have Mikey Ryan, another well-deserved best guest nomination as well. Second year in a row. Mikey, what are you going to do to try and get this title?
You know, it's going to be hard to beat Double Trouble. It is every year. When they come on, they steal the show. It's so hard to do. But, you know, maybe, like, I might have to throw out some more absurd statements out there. Maybe, like,
Probably.
maybe reference, like, try to be just like the guy who thought Kirk Cousins was the Forrest Beth quarterback in the NFC North. Maybe throw that out there or something like that. But, you know, like, I'll give it my all, but, you know, if I lose to Double Trouble, it's like, you know, there's nothing much I can do about that. So that's what I can do.
Yeah, they're feeling confident. I did contact them. They're feeling confident there. But, Mikey, you might have a strong case. Another guy that's also nominated as well, Will Rattel, former cadet.
Yep.
We know him. Voldy knows him very well. Red pepper and all. He's back at it again.
Redemption. He came back and he redeemed himself.
So
I will throw that out there.
Good. So you're feeling good about this, Voldy. Do you think
I'm
Rattel's got a
fairly
shot?
confident.
Fairly confident. Okay, so we're confident in Rattel. Our next one, Cole Munson. Now, I got to give Cole a lot of credit here. Yes, he's a Ricky Rubio apologist. Yes, he kind of pisses me off. Yes, he likes to say some things that get me going. But he is up for best guest as well. He covered Voldy for some shows as well and did a great job as always too. So we appreciate him doing that. Our next couple down here, Alex Coop Miners. Coop is up for best guest as well, nominated. That was a fun interview, Voldy.
That was great.
We had a great time with Coop. I think he's got a strong shot as well. Everyone really does, to be honest with you. So we got some people. Our next one, Mikey, you know this person too. Sam Gabrielli, nominated for Best Guest of 2021. We'll see what happens. This is a tough list this year. This isn't Double Trouble might not
cream
come
of the
away
crop,
with this.
man.
The cream of the crop. Ooh, yeah, as the Macho Man would like to say. And then our last one, well, we just gotta give it to him. Will Glancy is up for Best Guest of 2021. Why does this happen? I know this is. I'm going to miss this, though, because I had the Zim swearing a lot here. We're going to miss that of Zim. More on that in a second. But Will Glancy, up for Best Guest of 2021. As he says, you know, I'm in the kitchen for 2022 cooking up hot ones.
Oh, boy.
Christian Ponder and all. That's all he wants to talk about. Christian Ponder and all.
Yikes.
All right, so let's move on to Absurd Statement 2021. We'll go through this quick, then we got to get to hot take here. Austin Hanley. Oh, Austin Hanley. He said that Kirk Cousins is the fourth best quarterback in the division. Well, if you look at Justin Fields' stats, you look at Jared Goff's stats. I mean, good Lord, are you kidding? I mean, you can't just. Oh, I can't believe it. This one's got to win. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get more into that next week. The next one, DJ Matty C, yours truly. Dalvin Cook will win the rushing title. Nope, did not happen. But it's still not completely absurd. It's absurd, but it's not completely absurd. So we'll put it like that. And this is perfect. We have Mikey on here.
Yeah.
Mikey nominated and says at the beginning of the season, the Vikings will have a top 3 defense this year.
Nope.
They were ranked 31st this year. I'm sorry, Mikey.
That did not pan out.
I mean, top 3 worst defense.
See, I didn't say which.
Exactly.
Which side.
He's technically in the
Bro,
clear.
I've been here the whole
We
time.
can put it like that. But then our last one here, and then we'll move on. We'll save the special one for next week. But Voldy said, I believe the Vikings are going to win the NFC North. That was close. I mean, they were second. They were not fourth.
Right.
They're not third. But Voldy, we give you a lot of credit though. You did what you went with your gut.
I think I even said too. It's like, look, at the end of the year, they're probably going to be most absurd statement, but I didn't care because it was just like. I said, look, I'm just going to put them down. I'm just going to say they're going to win the NFC North, and I knew I was setting myself up for a world of hurt. And lo and behold, here we are as a nominee.
But it's only a nominee. You haven't won. You haven't, the thing is
Exactly.
that dustpan that's back here is going to
sir.
somebody else. I know it. I know it for a fact. I just know it. But anyway, that's the nominations, the big nominations. We're going to save the other one for later because we got to talk Vikings here. This is just kind of prominent. So let's get it going with some Tater Tot hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for Tater Tot Hot Take. Before we get going, Glancy thinks you're taking the dustpan home, Voldy.
Ooh, okay. I mean, I'm the one that did all the handiwork with the spray paint and the seal coat. Might as well bring it on
That's
back.
true. You did. You
Make a
really
nice
did.
little addition to the shrine over here.
Yeah.
Might as well, right? But, so the dustpan's going somewhere, fellas. The dustpan is going somewhere, but I don't think it's going to be to Voldy's place this time. But we'll keep you posted. All right, guys, obviously the big news after Sunday's game, a win for the Vikings for one, so that's kind of nice. The Vikings defeat the Bears 31-17, almost at 27. But shortly after the game, even for the Bears too, Matt Nagy fired as well. Zim gets fired, and then all of a sudden we find out RickSpielman gets fired as well. Usually at this point I would kind of explain, but there's really nothing to explain because I don't have it's just, it is what it is. We knew this was going to happen. We were surprised about Slick Rick. But then again, I think the Wolves wanted a little bit of a rebuild here. So, all right, Zoners, please let us know your thoughts. We're going to kind of go through the motions here with it, but let's start off with our guest, Mikey. Your thoughts on the firing, and just kind of give us an idea of why they came to that decision. What do you think?
So, my thoughts are, we all knew it was coming, right? But I think it was time deserved. We gave him 8 years. We loved Mike Zim. He was great for the first 6 years. And then unfortunately, you're tied when you make the move like they did with Kirk Cousins. When you tie yourself to a quarterback and you tie yourself to a Super Bowl or bust or deep playoff run or bust mentality, and you don't make it to the playoffs, 3 out of the 4 years after that big signing, it's hard to come back from one of those things, right? It was about time to move on. The league is changing at an ever blinding fast pace at this point. And Mike Zimmer kind of is getting left in the dust. He's a great defensive mind.
Yep.
The two things that he's been really bad at trying to adjust from being from a coordinator just to a head coach was time management. He would always be bad at time management stuff, like when he would take these weird timeouts or let the clock run down. It was always like, what are you doing kind of moments. And then also fighting with your offensive coordinators. It seemed not like in the media itself, but you could feel it as in terms of like the offensive game plan and how either lethargic or focused they were on running the football at certain points in the game. And that was mostly like Mike Zimmer driven, it looked like, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to pound the rock and play good defense.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, right now, the whole offensive scheme for the NFL is predicated on we got to open up the playbook, open up the field, get the passes, get your playmakers in space so that they can do a lot of the playmaking ability and getting those yards after the catch and stuff like that. So I think it was time to move on, and it's just the NFL probably outgrew Mike Zimmer. It happens to every coach. It'll happen to Bill Belichick at some point, but. It was time. I do thank Mike Zimmer for the 8 years he had. They were great, along with RickSpielman as well. The a decade and a half plus years, whatever he had that he was with us. I liked what they were doing. I liked what it had, but all good things must come to an end, and it was just time to move on.
I couldn't agree with you more. Obviously, I'm going to get into it. Callahan's School of Logic. I agree with a lot of what you said, and it came as a surprise with Slick Rick. Obviously, I think there was some good, there was some bad with Slick Rick too. But I think that's with any regime. I think that's what's going to happen sometimes. But Voldy, what are your thoughts? What do you got?
Obviously, too, there were the reports coming out before the game that this was going to be the last ride for Zimmer, too. And I know that, you look back, especially this year, you see all the situations on and off the field. I think this was definitely the writing on the wall. Getting off to that slow start, calls not going their way, that's all going to happen in relatively, in any season for that part. But knowing the full body of work, and you compare it to past head coaches, you see a lot of parity, and that's what the NFL is. It's all about parity. It's about adapting to that parity to make yourself even better, or make yourself one of those teams that adjusts in any given situation. Unfortunately, the last couple of years for the Vikings hasn't been all that way. Kind of stuck in their ways a little bit, knowing to set up the run, to set up the pass, and vice versa as well. And then defensively, too, losing guys to injury, losing guys to free agency, starting at square one with a completely young defense, too. And unfortunately, it just hasn't worked. It didn't work the last year plus. We saw, especially last year, starting with basically nothing in the defensive backfield. Guys coming back this year, getting stronger, competing at least, but then ending up, 7-9 on the season with, obviously, or 8-9, I should say, on the season too. Going into the last game was 7-9, obviously trying to adjust to the different game plans, and, a Mike Zimmer defense, him calling the defense, I think ultimately was the thing that hurt him in the grand scheme of everything too. Should have been able to put more trust in the defensive coordinator, and obviously Andre Patterson, a good coach, and, it'd be interesting to see what kind of, offers if he's able to come back this next season or not with the crew too is going to be something to see. And with RickSpielman too, coming into 2006, the Vikings weren't the Vikings that we know today. Look at the players that he's brought in with the Vikings. Obviously, 2006 going into 2007, some guy by the name of Adrian Peterson comes to the league for the Vikings and changes that whole franchise within it as well. Obviously, getting some good years and picking up like a Brett Favre, making the NFC Championship game in 2009, getting a new stadium as well. That magical run in 2017 to the NFC Championship, and getting guys. Obviously, there have been some missteps along the way. Quan Treadwell, we won't talk about that. A lot of interesting draft picks that didn't exactly work out. Guys getting booted off the team before they could even get, registered for their NFL pension. But the full body of work, a lot of late round decisions that did ultimately work out for the Vikings too. Guys like Stephon Diggs when we liked him as well. You get guys in those later rounds, and everything worked out well for the Vikings. Again, it was just getting that next step. What's going to make you a great team,
right? With
the right head coach, with the right GM combination. And unfortunately, you have to start over again. and losing Rick Spielman. I mean, obviously, wherever he's going to be off to next in his career, I think it's going to be a bonus for that franchise and for Mike Zimmer, too. Hopefully, I would like to see him hopefully take a year off, maybe two, kind of reset, recharge the batters, refresh the batters. I mean, Mike Zimmer, a lot of great moments in his tenure with the Vikings. 8 years. It's hard to even think about 8 years with the Vikings as well. A lot of great moments too. So I definitely for sure say thank you to Coach Zim for the time and all the fun that's been had along the way with the Vikings too.
There's a couple things I want to add into, and I will get to the zoners here because there's some people chiming in. One, I mentioned this on Twitter, and I think for the people that saw it too, all of us were at training camp one year. Myself, Voldy, Mikey was there. Mikey, I don't know if you were there when Zim was passing by on a golf cart. He was passing by on a golf cart, and we're throwing the ball around, whatever. And then I noticed him, so I start waving, and then he kind of had a smile. He's got over Edmund here, and he smiled and waved, and he waved by. It sounded like needs. I like that. I like somebody who addresses the fans and things like that, and he did love the fans. He really did. But more on that in a little bit. And another thing too, he may take a year off. We'll see. But let's remember that Zim's got that girlfriend, so he's doing okay. He's going back to the ranch. He's fine. Zim's doing just fine. Okay. So, but I do thank Zim nonetheless. All right. Let's get to Glancy. R.I.P. to Zim. Well, he's not dead, Glance. Jesus. Wish Zim the best. He set up the new coach great going forward. Defense will need a lot of work, but the culture in the locker room was shifted to a winning and steady culture. Slick Rick, I love the picks. More good than bad, but you can move up in the draft as well. Back is not always the best. I'd agree with that. But when he made good picks, they were mostly in the top half. I couldn't agree more with that, actually, because I think Slick Rick definitely had a lot of hits. Justin Jefferson, Anthony Barr played for a long time. Eric Kendricks played for a long at the time, and obviously it didn't work out. Xavier played pretty well, too, when he was drafted as well. So there are plenty of picks that you can look at and say they made good picks. But the Laquan Treadwells, I'm trying to think of some other guys
Matt Khalil.
Matt Khalil. Okay, yeah, Matt Khalil for sure.
Yeah.
But Harrison Smith was a huge. That was a game changer. Peterson, everything like that, and then the free agent. Okay, the bad one, Mike Wallace. The trade of Mike Wallace was not good. So we got that too. But another thing I want to bring up too, because we talked about our thoughts and we thank Coach Zim and everything, but one of the former Vikings, and that be Eric Kendricks, had some comments about his thoughts on the firings and whatnot. I think there's been this rift between Eric Kendricks and Mike Zimmer. If you guys haven't taken a look at the quote, he said some things that kind of leave you scratching your head. He said we put a lot of work in together and we had a great run. I feel like there's some things left out there as far as our relationship is concerned. I think that's a question you have to ask him. Interesting. And then he also said that the Vikings would, have a fear-based, or he didn't say specifically, but he said a fear-based culture. We got to have a coach that doesn't have that. It's a different era, I think, is what he's getting at. But,
Right.
Mikey, what are your thoughts on Kendricks' comments here about Zim? Indirectly, I should say.
Yeah. It's to be determined if they're actually factual or not. It's a lot of hearsay. But I think there's probably some merit to it. Mike Zimmer was a coach around in the quote unquote olden days at this point now, where a lot of it was the coaches were more like getting on players' butts. They were trying to light a fire by being either yelling in their face or not so much demeaning, but like getting on like what they're doing wrong more so than what they're doing correctly, right?
Yeah.
Just to motivate the players. And nowadays, whether it's good or bad, it's probably more for the better for at least mental health reasons, right? Players are not putting up with that anymore. They want more positive reinforcement. They want to be maybe not buddy, but they want to be in good standing with their coach. Yeah, coddled, maybe, probably for some, wide receivers, maybe or something like that. Yeah. But it's a different time, and that's probably also tied along with like the firing of Mike Zimmer. There might have been something in the locker room situation where players weren't getting along with him because the players nowadays, they want that positive reinforcement. They want to be feeling good about how they're playing. They want to know what they're doing wrong still, but they don't want it in a demeaning way. They want it to be like constructive criticism. They want to be able to, hey, these are what you're doing wrong. We're going to positively teach you the right ways to do it. And that's probably a good way. It's a good way to do it these days. It should have been done a long time ago, demeaning people for no reasons, bad, both physically and mentally. But at this, and the Kendrick's comments, like, again, we have to figure out if there's actually something to them. But it's probably just from that old mentality. I know a lot of people probably have older either women or gentlemen in their workplace that just can't get up with like either technology or like a new program that's being brought in. It's kind of the same way with the NFL coaches,
Yeah, and I just think I hope that it wasn't a situation where it was so bad that it couldn't be rekindled there, because I feel like he is such a key part to that defense. It's not even. I mean, he's an All-Pro. I mean, it was just announced. Kendricks was first team All-Pro. So I think there were some differences. I think from what I understand from these comments, and that's fine. I get that. We'll talk about that more in Callahan School of Logic. But Voldy, what are your thoughts on Kendrick's comments?
I think a lot of these comments coming out of frustration because, Kendrick's coming back the last couple of years, he was going to be the guy that was going to be leaned on. Him, Anthony Barr out with injury, potentially him leaving to go with the Jets and whatever, couple of off seasons ago. And I think this is a lot of out of frustration. And when I first heard these comments on Monday morning, I was just like, okay, that's kind of a weird, kind of a backhanded, see you on the other side kind of finishing comment on a coach that's, been pretty decent to you, a guy that was there when you got drafted in the NFL. But I see where this is all stemming from. Underperforming is definitely where it came from, right. Especially after the 2017 season, losing seasons after that. And, obviously, too, the NFL is changing. Game of football is changing. And sometimes coaches don't want to change along with it. Would I say that, Mike Zimmer changed along with it? That's yet to be seen. If there's any validity to these fear-based culture within the Vikings locker room, I guess we'll have to find out and see here before too long. If anything we've learned here with head coaches in the NFL that get let go before the end of the season, Jacksonville, wink, wink, hint, hint. There's no hiding whatsoever. So again, comments like that coming out this early and nothing following behind it. I don't know if there's anything that's going to be following here in the next few weeks, especially with a new GM out and who's going to start talking or whatever about anything that came out of it. I just certainly hope that it's not, a whole can of worms that's going to be opened up here as well. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of change and hopefully some good change here for the Vikings too, with a new coach and GM combo coming in.
Yeah, I mean, it's spot on. Absolutely spot on with you guys. I think he's kind of moved on from it, and honestly, I think Zim probably has too. I mean, he sent the letter out, which is nice and everything like that. Yeah. And we heard about the meeting that they had. Guys had tears in their eyes, or I mean, Zim, Spielman, and then the Wolves, I should say. Tears were shed, and it is what it is. But I think they're just going to move on from it. It's really not going to bother. It's not going to linger or anything. I mean, it's over. Okay, they made the decision. We're moving on. So, speaking of moving on, there's a lot of question marks for this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be very interesting because you look at the Vikings roster, guys, and there's a lot to like, to be honest with you. I mean, the offense that you have, Thielen, Jefferson, Cook. I think Madison's, I don't know if his contract has expired, but he'd be another guy. But there's a lot of question marks. Defensively, obviously, we got to get better there, big time. I don't care how many injuries you had or what, but it'll be interesting to see what the new regime does. But before we get into it, I forgot we had one comment with Glancy. What do you got now? Vikings need to get Urban in the building ASAP to start on.
Oh God.
Draft. You know what? I know what he's doing. And you know what? I know what he's doing. This is exactly what he wants us to do. He wants to win the absurd statement of 2021. He's doing
it's
this.
already the Will Glancy Award. What else does he want?
It is
we
true.
already named it after him. What else does he want?
So true. So true. He's just trying to get in there. I'll give you the nomination, but I guarantee you're not going to win. I'm just saying. But
no matter what he says, he's always going to be nominated.
Yeah,
that's just how
okay.
That's how he works.
Fair enough, Shield. Mikey, let me ask you this. Where is your leaning towards some of these candidates? Bieniemy, you got Daboll from Buffalo, some GM guys. Glancy keeps talking up Louis Riddick. I don't know. I there's a lot of options, and there's a lot of ways that they could go. Doug Peterson went in for an interview with the Vikings as well. So, Mikey, where's your leaning towards some of the GMs and coaches here?
The GM is a little more hidden, I would say. I'm not too familiar with a lot of the names. I know the Chiefs assistant GM, that might be an interesting pick to grab. That would also probably make Bieniemy the front runner for the head coaching job for us. Another one for at least GM, Louis Riddick's getting talked about. I don't know why. He's an assistant, or he's an analyst at ESPN. Maybe that gets him in the news a lot. But I don't know much about his resume, And another name to get thrown around too, I've seen a lot is, I think his name is Jeff Ireland. He is a bona fide unfortunately.
Excuse me.
But he's a name to get thrown around too. And I think the head coach is going to be really predicated on the GM. The Vikings have already said we're going to hire a GM because they know he's going to have a voice on who the head coach is going to be, and they're going to be tied together ultimately. Whether they're going to keep their job or not. But a lot of the head coach I know a little bit more about. Bieniemy, I think, would be a good choice. It's dependent on how much is his hands in that Kansas City offense. You have Andy Reid there, who is the offensive guru who makes up, strange new plays every week. You see wide receivers running sideline to sideline doing gassers before the play. And so he might be an interesting one. I would like to see him give it a shot at least. I don't know if it will be us or another team, but I think it'd be interesting. Another one, I think, it would probably not a long shot, but a dark horse to win. I really like Kellen Moore out of the Dallas offensive coordinator. Yeah. It's an interesting pick. He is really young. He'll be, if we sign him to be the head coach, he'll be the youngest head coach in ever, pretty much. Yeah. He'll be the youngest in the NFL at the time. I like what he's done with the Dallas offense. I don't really like what he's done the run wise, right? But I like what he's been doing with the passing game. I like what he's been doing with Dak Prescott and all the weapons that he has around there. You see him putting up video game like numbers sometimes, but I'm worried about it just because of how young he is. Yeah. And it's just, you have that inexperience there. He's fresh out of the NFL. 6 years ago, he was just
barely
back for the Lions. Yeah,
barely.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, I know that might be an interesting one. I know a lot of people are talking about offensive coordinators because it's always been that way. You go defensive mind, then offensive mind, then defensive mind, then offensive mind, flip flopping all the ways, right? But another one I might want to check in with is Brian Flores. I thought he did a really good job down in the Dolphins with Miami. It was the weirdest firing. You know, he went from 1-7 to what, a 9-8 season or something like that.
Yeah,
winning eight of the last
nine games.
It was insane. Keeping your players motivated through that takes a special head coach a lot of the times. So I would like to give him a shot, and I think he'd be a lot better because I think Miami is just dysfunctional as a franchise at this point. So he might be an interesting one as well. He's more of a defensive mind, but I think he might be a good pick. But those are the guys that I've been looking at least.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the Kellen Moore thing because I think there's some there. I mean, Glancy's kind of a big proponent of this, right? Get Louis Riddick ASAP. No, thank you on that. Former player and former executive, bring in Kellen Moore for head coach. How you doing? Keep it moving. Yeah, but I think what has to happen, Kellen Moore has to blow them away. And that is the main thing. He has to blow them away. It has to be Sean McVay-esque. It has to be, because if it isn't, then I could see this blowing up in our face big time.
Yeah, 100%.
We have to look at this and say, let's interview, see how we're feeling here. So I think it's kind of one of those things.
Look, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to see Kellen Moore anything other than the babyface quarterback out of Boise State. No matter how old he's going to be the left-handed quarterback that didn't have the one chin strap buckled at Boise State. Him back in the day with Austin Pettis and Titus Young slinging the rock and winning, Fiesta Bowls and breaking the BCS every year. I don't care how many years and how long it's going to take. He'll be a head coach someday. Lord, I just hope it's not with the Vikings because they'll waste 3 years with that for sure.
Yeah, and it could be a quick firing. I'll say that.
Oh, yeah.
Too. But I just want to throw that out there. Voldy, are there any others that you've been kind of looking at, thinking, okay, this guy might fit, this guy might fit? What do you got?
Yeah, obviously the Eric Bieniemy situation, I think, is definitely one that kind of fits. One person that we haven't mentioned yet that was kind of a dark horse that a guy was looking at, I was actually speaking with guest of the show, DJ Vold, talking about Pep Hamilton out of Houston. Now he's a quarterback coach. He's been an offensive coordinator, kind of a poor man's Bruce Arians, kind of a quarterback guru of things as well. He's a guy that could be looked at as well. I don't know if he's got any, head coaching offers or any interviews. Another guy as well that's getting a lot of attention, Byron Leftwich from the Tampa Bay. The OC. I said that he was going to be a head coach someday, especially with the way things went last year in that Super Bowl run of his. Todd Bowles is another guy that's definitely one. Haven't heard his name thrown out a lot, but maybe he's trying to settle in with that defense down in Tampa. But Byron Leftwich has definitely gotten a lot of looks as of late. That'd be a very interesting hire. Still a younger coach, still, plenty left in the tank in the OC role. But that's another guy that I've been kind of keeping an eye on as well, as Byron Leftwich.
Byron Leftwich, yeah. Keep an eye on that. I wouldn't be opposed to that, to be honest with you.
No, I wouldn't either.
Glance says, please stay away from anything to do with a dumpster fire like Houston. Yeah, he's really trying. He's just really trying.
Glance.
A name we know that's familiar. I just want to throw this out there. Obviously, I think it might be a bad idea, but he's had some success, and that's in Buffalo. His name is Leslie Frazier. He's done pretty well in Buffalo, but I don't think they're gonna go. I mean, they might interview him just to, I don't know, see if something would change. But I don't see that happening. I mean, you guys probably feel the same way, right?
Yeah, I don't think you bring back an old coach that he did well here as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
but as a head coach, I just don't think we go back to it. It's very rare that an organization goes and fires a coach and then brings him back. I give him an interview, maybe like his philosophy has changed and how he would run an organization might have changed, but I just don't see it fitting very well.
Especially bringing back a guy that you fired and the guy that you hired to replace him got fired as well. So talk about backtracking. I've heard a lot of reports of this. This was about a month ago that, Leslie Frazier in Chicago
Yep.
Obviously he was a former Bear, played in that 85 Super Bowl team. So that's another route to being looked at as well with Leslie Frazier.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I was just throwing it out there. Just not say, because I don't think it'd be a good idea either, but just my thoughts. But the Doug Peterson news kind of throws things into perspective too. I wouldn't be opposed to it either, because I think offensively we'd be solid. Defensively, you got to find a good defensive coordinator, and I think that's with Andre Patterson. But I think they should give him a fair shake and interview for the head coaching gig. Just throwing that out there. Just at least interview him, see what he would do differently. I think that's possible. But all in all, very good analysis about the firings and everything like that, gentlemen. Great job as always. Mikey, thanks for coming in and doing that for us, because there's a lot to be. And then, Kirk's contract, I think, is a big one, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a big offseason thing. But we'll have you on again, and we'll chat a little bit more in depth on that regarding Kirk. And, I mean, Anthony Barr, I don't think he's coming back either. And, guys, Gronklin, as we loved Conklin. I hope he comes back if the new regime comes back in here. But we'll see. There's going to be a lot of changes, guys. A lot of changes. Glenn says Dougie P would be in my top 3, second on the list for me. There you go. See, when you talk logically, when you put out things that are logic, then you're fine, Glance. Anyway, but like we said, we're gonna see what happens. Mikey, we'll have you on again if there's more off-season news, and obviously with some hirings, if they hire GM. Coach, we'll have you on again. We'll chat about it. See what's going to happen next. So,
sounds good.
Stuffage says Cousins should take a cut of $10 million. Will he though? That's my question.
That's the whole thing.
That's my question. I mean, it's $45 million. Are you going to turn that down? I doubt it. But you can extend him. Maybe help with that. So, Mikey, thanks for coming on again. Good luck to you on your nominations. I'll be rooting for you for best guest, and
yes, sir.
Well, I think you're okay with the.
Yeah, I think I'm fine for the absurd statement. I don't think I'm going that far.
And then we got this crap right here with Glancy. Trade for Baker. Oh, good lord.
Oh boy.
Oh my God! Make it stop.
We're done. So, Mikey, we'll talk to you later, and more to come, sir. More to come, good sir.
Definitely. Thanks, guys.
You bet.
See ya.
Anytime. All right, now Voldy. We got some things to talk about regarding the Minnesota Vikings. My thoughts. I didn't really give my thoughts in the first segment, Tater Tot Hot Take, but I'm going to give them in Callahan School of Logic, because there's some things that need to be addressed, and there's a lot of people that are very toxic on the Twitter sphere, Facebooks, Instagrams, you name it. I just think the way that people have gone about it has been terrible. They've been mean. They've been saying, Zim doesn't do this. Zim does. Let's just stop. I'm going to explain it here in Callahan School of Logic. So get your pens, get your papers, sit in your desk. Let's get this thing going. If it'll go.
Class is in session. You're enrolled in Callahan's School of Logic.
All right, Voldy, welcome to Callahan School of Logic. Grab your pens, grab your papers, sit in your desk, chill out, listen up. All right, Voldy, Zoners, it's been a chaotic week for the Purple. I'm glad they got the win to end the season. But obviously what happened after, we knew what was going to happen via Zim, okay? We knew what was going to happen via Zim. But the one thing that we didn't see coming was obviously Spielman, right? Been with the team 16 years, everything like that. But, I just want people to know, this is a public service announcement for all the trolls and everything like that. Stop bashing Zim and Rick. Okay? If you have a problem with the way that they did things, then that's fine. You can criticize all you want. Okay? You can criticize all you want. But there have been some people, Voldy zoners, that have just bashed them. Every single time I hop on, it's either they didn't do this, they didn't do this, and they don't give a damn. They don't care. You know who doesn't give a damn? You know who doesn't care? Is that team with that plays baseball. That's people who don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. This team does. Zim gave a damn. Rick gave a damn. They wanted to win us a Super Bowl. They tried their best to. They had different ways of doing it. Okay? Now, was Zim the easiest guy to work with? Probably not, no. I mean, Zim had a specific way. And that was almost the Parcells way, right? Mm-hmm. Now, it might have worked in 2014 to 2017, however long you want to paint it, okay? But now this is a different NFL. And I agree with people that Zim needed to adapt. Zim didn't adapt, okay? He just didn't. And that was probably the straw that broke the camel's back in some aspects, because you got to have a specific way to go about things if you're going to change things, right? And Zim didn't do that. I'll admit that, okay? I knew it was time to move on because this wasn't going anywhere, as we can see. The defense got worse, all that. But if you think for 1 second that Zim didn't care, he's too damn stubborn. Yeah, he was too damn stubborn. But he gave a damn about this team. He cared about this team. So why can't we acknowledge the fact that he tried to bring something that we've never had, a Super Bowl, right? Bud Grant's been there. Obviously, we've lost the Super Bowl. We've had torment. We had a team that cheated, for God's sakes. But I think if you would compare it with Rick here, too, because Rick's in this conversation as well, RickSpielman, they had the same goal. They did everything in their power. There were decisions that we all questioned, okay? I mean, at first, I was a fan of the Laquan Treadwell trade. Obviously, that went to you-know-what. And the Mike Wallace trade, we thought that was it. No, that didn't go well, okay?
Nope.
There's been some bumps in the road, okay? Now, you're going to hit on some. You're going to miss some. We talked about that. We just talked about it in Tater Tot Hot Take. Is that you can't always have the perfect draft. You can't always have guys that are going to be A-plus players. Yeah, there were a lot of good ones. Justin Jefferson, Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith, you name it. Just a plethora of guys that played well for the Vikings. So it's things like that. Now, the one thing that I will criticize, too, is the interior of the O-line, as the Curve Doctor likes to say. We could not figure out that right guard spot, Voldy, zoners. We couldn't. It was Remmers. It was Udo. It was Klein. It was Elfline, for goodness sake. And no one could solidify that spot specifically. But we kept, putting a Band-Aid on it. And it didn't work. And that's where I criticize Spielman. That's where I criticize Zim as well. Because there were guys that have been really good right guard. Quinn Meinerz, I feel like it was a guy we missed out on. Another guy that, Will Hernandez, I believe, for the Giants. He's a big mauler guy. Why couldn't we get somebody like him? We needed that. We didn't get it. The Gophers, for goodness sake, had a heavier offensive line than we did. A college team. Come on, man. So it's that. And, yeah, criticize that. That's fine. It didn't get them fired. Oh, by the way, Rick drafted Adrian Peterson, right? If I remember correctly.
Yep.
There's that. Jefferson. But let's move back to Zim here, okay? Let's talk about Zim. His downfall, like I said, not adapting to the current state of the league. And, this is such a different league. We talked about this, too, is some of these players don't respond well to tough love. And Zim was a tough love guy. You could tell. You've seen it. Zim cared. Zim cared. He wanted to win. He also wanted to make sure that the players were mentally sound, ready to go. But some players don't really respond well to that. That's where Zim had to adapt. He didn't. Oh, well. And Zim was going to be the same person no matter who he was. There are times where he'd get way too blunt at times. There are times where he needs to come back and say, listen, okay? It's best to say nothing than to say something sometimes. And sometimes Zim would just say it, and then it would rub people the wrong way, which I think that Sharif Floyd deal was pretty bad. I mean, that's a example. And then also the Kendricks thing too, Voldy. I think that's something that we got to make note of as well with Kendricks. Now, it's Zim didn't care if it hurt people's feelings. That's the way he did it, because that's how Parcells did it. Well, this is a different time. We talked about it. Okay. The next one. I mean, this is kind of the big meat and potatoes right here.
Oh, yeah.
Kirk, Teddy, Keenum, or some rando, whatever you want to put it. But I put it as 3 because I feel like this is the best way to put it. Now, Voldy, we're big Keenum guys when he played. He had that year and everything like that.
Yep.
But that was the 3 options that you had were those 3. Okay. Now, out of the 3 guys that we were talking about, that we talked about at that time in that offseason after we lost the NFC Championship game and then we move on to the offseason, Kirk Cousins is available. One guy, obviously, coming off a terrible injury. I love Teddy. I've always loved Teddy. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't like him coming back with that same, I didn't think he'd be the same. And yeah, he's had flashes. Don't get me wrong, he's had his flashes,
right.
But he's also had some times where he's struggled. Okay, and then with Case, okay, you caught lightning in a bottle that year, man. I mean, everything was flowing. Keenum's keepers the whole way through. Oh, we loved it.
Name a damn son after Case Keenum.
Exactly. But was that going to continue? That's the next question that we had. Was that going to continue? I don't believe so. I don't. I love Case Keenum. I'll always appreciate what he did.
Absolutely.
But I just got to say, man, if you're going to go for where you want to go to where you want to go, you get the guy that's going to give you the best chance. And the chance at that time was Kirk Cousins. Now, before people freak out and say, what are you talking about? Oh, he cost all this money. Oh, my gosh, guaranteed. He's not worth it. That's what it took. They had to get a specific amount of money for him to come here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
If we lowballed him, if we pulled the poll ads here, we'd be in. Who knows who would have been our quarterback?
Right.
Now that's the biggest thing that I think people need to realize there. But Kirk has done everything that we've asked him to do, and I feel like some people give him, hell for that. And it's, well, what are you talking about? Right? He's done everything. We just haven't built around him like we should have. That's the issue. And that falls on Zim and Rick. Now, we can talk about Zim and Spielman kind of having differing opinions. Zim warning people about Cousins and everything like that. But the fact of the matter is that was the best option at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave with this, and then Voldy, give us your thoughts, and we're moving on to ARA. The Wolves made the right decision no matter what. I mean, honestly, it was the right move. This was not going to get us to where we want to go to a Super Bowl with Zim and I guess Spielman too. Okay. It's time for the change of leadership. But the people that keep bashing these guys and saying they didn't do enough, they did enough. They tried their damnedest to get this team a Super Bowl. They almost did. Obviously, you go to the NFC Championship, we all know what happens. They got us through the playoffs not too long ago as well. Rick made some nice deals. Zim got us to the playoffs. Yes, no Super Bowl, but they tried. Don't question that. No one's perfect, okay? No one is perfect, and especially in the NFL. So,
Yep.
All right. I'm glad I got that off my chest. Voldy, what are your thoughts? I mean, just kind of give me what you got.
Yeah, a lot to unpack here, and a lot of things that we always end up talking about in the same situation. When they fired Brad Childress, when they let go Leslie Frazier, and now here with Mike Zimmer. What are we talking about? Talking about offensive line, ineffective quarterback play, even though it's not ineffective, like everybody says, it's ineffective to the point that if it's a ring or nothing, it's going to be ineffective to say the least in that regard. But again, looking at it all, and you see this, yes, struggles on the offensive line, which leads to unfortunate downplaying of the quarterback position too. There is everything that you can do to bolster that, but if players aren't performing, then, you got to find somebody else to make that happen. And you see that through the draft. You see that through free agency and the lack of moves as well. At the end of the day, you look at it with Spielman at the GM spot. It's a similar situation. You can make it, you can throw out as much money as you can, but if the organization, the ownership isn't willing to reciprocate, then you're going to suffer. Did the Vikings throw out a whole bunch of money at Kirk Cousins to sign him when we knew that Case Keenum wasn't going to be coming back unless we gave him a boatload of money and, basically a big old question mark instead of a number 5 on Teddy Bridgewater's jersey? Yeah, sometimes you got to play dirty in order to, win. And that's what the Vikings did do. And that's what they're trying to do. They're going after what was best available at the time, which was Kirk Cousins. And I am saying so far, the return on the investment minus the ring is there.
Yep.
Overall, it is there. You look at now going into the final year of that contract, so far, you can't say that he hasn't performed well,
Right?
Kirk Cousins. But getting back to the whole situation with Mike Zimmer, you deal with the players that you had coming in, you build in through the draft, you go out there and you try to put together the best game plan that you can. Obviously, losing seasons at the end of his tenure compared to the beginning of his tenure, it's a 50-50 split. Did he do great? No. Did he do terrible? No, he didn't. At the end of the day, I can't complain about what Mike Zimmer did in 8 seasons with the Vikings. And Rick Spielman in his 16 seasons as GM, you can't really complain. Obviously, there are going to be negatives that do pose in front, but the positives, in my mind, outweigh the negative on both fronts for both men.
Stamp of approval. Segue.
There you go.
But, I mean, it's... I hate to see them leave. I really do, right. Because I liked Zim. I thought Zim was going to get us there. I thought Spielman was going to get us there, too. But things don't work out like that. Or for any Minnesota sports, for gosh sakes. But there's that as well. But I think, we summed it up pretty good for our first show back after 2 weeks. So I think this is perfect. So thanks all the zoners that are chiming in. But let's move on to some other nice stuff. By the way, the Wild, they're doing pretty well. We've heard some big news. Oh, and then Black Monday, we'll talk about more of the other firings as well, hirings. Oh, and Clowntonio. Oh, boy. I can't wait to talk about that. I just can't wait. But we appreciate everyone that has commented. Let's move on to some fun stuff, huh? So let's get it going. What's up? Observe or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we start off with some good news here for A. Of course, right before the Winter Classic did happen a couple of weeks ago, which seems like a lifetime ago now at this point. The Minnesota Wild did sign head coach DeanEvason and his entire staff to multi-year contract extensions before the Winter Classic, which did happen on New Year's Day. A reward for keeping them as one of the top teams in the Western Conference. Of course, old Billy Guerin, old Wild Bill himself, shooting from the hip on this one, not only giving DeanEvason his second full season as head coach an extension. Assistant coaches Darby Hendrickson, Brett McLean, Bob Woods, goaltending coach Frederick Chabot, and video coaches TJ Gindra and Jonas Plum extensions as well. You know, things are going good even when the video coaches get extensions too. Absurd or approved, the whole staff getting extensions here at the midway, not even at the midway point of the season for the Wild.
Yeah, honestly, it's got my stamp of approval. And why does it have my stamp of approval is because they're getting results. You see where they're at in the standings. Now, if you're like, well, what about the Winter Classic? They completely were terrible. Well, look at the injuries they had. Oh, and by the way, there's a pandemic going on too, FYI. But, it's things like that. But they have been able to adapt. They were taking on the Capitals the other night, and they're very good as well. They went in there with a bunch of, with Boldy, with Rossi, and guys like the Callahan Addison, and they won in OT. They got the points.
They won with their farm team, which was amazing. Farm team.
Yeah, you got to be happy with that. You can't complain about that. And they were, this staff has done fantastic. They believe in Dino. They believe in what they're trying to do. They believe in Billy G. This team is a different beast. And Kirill Kaprizov, he got cheap shotted, by the way. Absolutely cheap shot on Kirill Kaprizov. It's got my stamp of approval. And yes, I think this is going to be the group that gets them over the hump and gets them to the postseason. They believe, and when you believe, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit, Voldy. So what do you got, Voldy?
One of the things I keep saying on this show when we talk about the Wild and Bill Guerin, he wants his guys, and he's got his guys. This coaching staff, he's putting the investment into this team. Obviously, the ownership has to follow suit as well, but the fact that Bill Guerin's got his coaching staff, he's got DeanEvason. Of course, Darby Hendrickson's been a part of the Wild, since day number one, whether in uniform or behind the bench as well. Getting that whole unit together and saying, we're investing on these guys to help you guys out on the ice too, is what's going to help put this team in the Stanley Cup playoffs and quite possibly a Stanley Cup as well coming to Minnesota. So putting that, it's got my stamp of approval here for the Wild extending their coaching staff.
Yeah, I think you got to go with the continuity, and I think they have that with Dino. And I like Dino, man. He's fun to watch. He's kind of Zim-esque, He's kind of Zim-esque. It's funny watching him on the bench. He's got some he's got some colorful language, but it's funny. I think they keep it going. They get some guys back. Kirill Kaprizov was skating today, I believe. So that's really
sounds
good
like
news.
He's going to play Friday. So
sounds like he's going to play Friday. There you go.
That's what Dino said.
That's all we need, baby.
Yes, sir.
Let's go. So we'll see what happens. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, the fallout of Black Monday this week certainly did spare no expense to a lot of coaches. Obviously, we know the firing of MikeZimmer and also for RickSpielman for the Minnesota Vikings. But the Chicago Bears also fired Coach Matt Nagy, GM Ryan Pace after a 6-11 season.
Shocker.
No surprise there to begin with. The Miami Dolphins let go their head coach after winning 8 of their last 9 games. Brian Flores is out after 3 years, and their GM is still going to hang out there. But then a very interesting situation in New York. But then again, this is New York. Nothing is ever not interesting. GM Dave Gettleman did retire after 4 seasons, announced his retirement. And then on Tuesday, New York Giants, I should say, letting go head coach Joe Judge after I think, 2 seasons there? Yeah, just 2 seasons for Joe Judge as well. But looking at the availability, so you got the Giants, you've got the Dolphins, you've got the Vikings, and you've got the Bears right now. And looking at those, is it absurd or prove this statement? Will the Vikings have the better record with their new coach and GM combo compared to the other teams in search of a new GM and coach in the 2022 season?
Great question. I like this. Well, the Nagy thing, I think, was inevitable.
So inevitable.
I feel bad. I've completely bashed Nagy, but we had some zoners.
I don't feel bad for him at all. He did it to himself.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we had zoners chime in about that whole thing from a different perspective. I'd like to know that different perspective. So, Jack Lavin, I know I'll be talking to you at some point. But with those, I mean, the Bears, the Dolphins is kind of surprising. I thought Flores deserved to stay. Because I mean, if you're coming back from all that, starting off so bad and then be able to come back like that, that's impressive. The next one is kind of the Giants. I just think it was never a good fit. I was never a fan of the hiring of Joe Judge because I didn't think he was really, it seemed like he was a little bit hard nosed and everything like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think apparently Rudy really liked him, which I hope that's fine. But he just got fired apparently, so he might have been not that good. But Gettleman, a lot of people have been calling for his head, so there's that too. But the Giants are a mess. I mean that's a place you just I don't even want to touch it with a I wouldn't want to go there. The Jaguars obviously. You got that going on. And then the other thing, too, is that, you have that. But the Las Vegas, I mean, what are you going to do there? Yeah, but out of respect for their coach, they're in the playoffs. They earn their right there. So that's an intriguing place, too, if they decide to just say, we're not going to move on. But
right.
I think so. I do think the Vikings are going to have it because look at the situation that they're in. You have a quarterback he's still playing well. Kirk Cousins is still playing well. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Irv Smith Jr.'s coming back, so that helps. Yep. Daniil will be back, but defensively you got to make some adjustments because you're probably going to lose Barr. But out of those teams, we've got the best chance to not fully rebuild, but retool a little bit. Yep. So it's got my stamp of approval. I honestly think we'll get a combo that's going to work. So hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah.
Foldy, what do you think?
Yeah, the only way the Vikings next year don't have a better record than these teams as well is if they just make complete asinine hirings of GM and of coach as well. Because they've got all the right tools. They've got, technically an all-pro wide receiver, even though Justin Jefferson got snubbed off the all-pro team. You got an all-pro quarterback. You've got a running back that's looking to something to prove in the next season. You got a defense that's getting more seasoned and also very seasoned to begin with, but a lot of things looking up for the Vikings defense, hopefully going into this offseason. They have the best situation. They're the most stable out of the lot. Obviously disappointment from the fans and some of the media, but not to the extent of, obviously New York, not the extent of Jacksonville, that dumpster fire. Definitely not Chicago as well. Wouldn't touch that job, even if you paid me all the money in the world to live there as well. They're probably looking at getting a new stadium and moving as well, the Chicago Bears. So, I mean, if the Vikings aren't the ones that come out on top in this whole situation, it's just a fault within the franchise itself, and maybe should just thinking about packing up and moving on as well.
Yeah, but I do want to say one thing though. After the Vikings, it's probably Las Vegas where you would look at and say, that's actually a pretty good combo. That would be interesting. But also, let's not forget, Chicago. Yeah, you have a pretty good defense with Khalil Mack, Hakeem Hicks, those guys. But Bustin Fields, he hadn't had a good year. 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I'm throwing some shots at people that are just big Justin Fields people. But just saying. But it's so much. It is a better situation. Put the right guys in place, we'll be looking pretty good. So next one, Voldy. Go ahead.
Oh, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about Clowntonio. Because when this happened, I didn't even wait 5 minutes from when I saw it, and my phone was blowing up because every time we talk about Clowntonio, we're talking about another chapter in the 30 for 30 that just keeps on building and building. It is just going to be fantastic here in about 5 years when this bad boy gets all wrapped up and done. So, for those that don't know or have been living under a rock for the last couple of weeks, Antonio Brown had a little bit of a disturbance on the field to the point which he takes off his helmet, takes off his shoulder pads and jerseys, takes off his shirt, running down the sideline, pumping up the fans in the back of the end zone on his way out, and actually left the stadium while the game was still going on, while the Buccaneers were losing to the New York Jets, which they ended up coming back to win, by the way. So how you doing? Keep her moving on that. And then everything coming out afterwards as well, talking about how Bruce Arians wanted him to go back into the game, even though his ankle was killing him. Talking about the conversation that happened between Antonio and also for Arians, talking about how he was getting his ankle looked at and possibly having surgery as well to get cleaned up in time for the playoffs. And then now recently also seeing that Antonio came out and said, yeah, my actions weren't very professional or probably in the right mind to begin with as well. Saw that just a couple hours ago. The whole situation with Antonio Brown, just when you thought it was going to be fine, and you know what, him coming off the suspension and, you know, actually getting some work in the last couple of weeks, just took a complete nosedive to the point where now, if he's going to play at all in the NFL once again, looking at the full body of work here in the last couple of weeks, is it absurd or a proof? Will Antonio Brown get another chance in the NFL?
No. And why do I say no? Well, because when you do stupid stuff like that, how can anybody trust you? Like, how many times... Now, let's remember, this is almost Josh Gordon-esque, okay?
Bruh.
Now, it's gotten to the point where you trust him. Tom Brady goes out of his way to help you, and then you pull a stunt like that. And then, not only that, but he also was talking about how, well, my leg was hurt. You know, he's showing all these text messages and everything. But when you really deep dive into it, that's not what happened at all, which is interesting to me because Bruce Arians pretty much said he was complaining about targets. He wasn't getting enough targets. He wasn't getting give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. So basically, Antonio Brown just lied to everybody and was like, well, technically, my leg was hurt, you know, my ankle. And then he's like throwing shade at Brady. He's throwing shade at Gronk. I mean, what is going on with this guy? Obviously, I hope he gets the help that he desperately needs right now. But when you keep pulling stunts like that, it gets to a point where you're done. Bye. See you. And just breaking news, too, by the way, Clowntonio is going to be on the infamous list, both of ours at some point here. So he's going back up there. You said with the 30 for 30 Voldy, it just keeps on getting juicier and juicier for content-wise, I should say. But, I mean, Clowntonio is back, and I hope he doesn't get another opportunity because he doesn't deserve it. There's some other guys that definitely deserve it, but him. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Dude, we need to change Clowntonio's name to Clowntonio because the man is a cartoon. It's getting more ridiculous. The stuff leaving from Pittsburgh to Vegas, then getting kicked out of the NFL, then getting the whole live interview with the bleached mustache, going back to the NFL, playing for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, winning a Super Bowl, scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl as well. And now this stuff as well. The man is a cartoon. And then all the other stuff that didn't even happen at the game. Him talking about, the reports coming out that he snuck a
Get back on the practice squad
the day before the football game and all that stuff, and then actually leaving the game and then recording an album or something, you know, that Sunday or something, and this week, and all the punches he keeps pulling here this week. The man is a cartoon, and it's awesome. I'm loving it right now, just because the fact it's so ridiculous. You can't just sit back and just look at it like this is Looney Tunes. This is Daffy, man. This is nuts.
This is Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh my God, this is WB Kids. This is Fox Kids type stuff going on right now. This is Adult Swim, Cartoon Network After Dark type stuff going on right now. But I mean, is he going to play in the NFL? Probably not. I hear the USFL's coming back this spring. I hear the XFL's coming back next year as well. Or actually, is it this year? I can't even remember it. There's so many spring football leagues.
2023, I think.
2023 now. Okay, so next year, and you got the USFL coming this spring. Hopefully, it doesn't follow the same way that the AIF, the American Alliance of Football, a couple years ago, that just literally popped up like 3 weeks after the NFL season and started advertising 3 weeks left in the playoffs or whatever. Hey, it's going to be nuts within itself. That's going to be a failed experiment. But hey, we'll talk about it when we get close to the spring. Is he going to be in the NFL? No, I don't think he will. No. Too much of a liability.
Too much of a liability. Can't trust him. It's that.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Well, next one, Voldy.
Yeah, we're sticking with the NFL here again. It was announced here this past week that the Washington football team, the Fightin' Footballs, may not be the Fightin' Footballs for much longer.
About time.
February 2nd, Washington football team will be announcing that they will have a new team name, new uniforms as well, or at least that's what some of the indications, a couple teaser videos being released as of late. But it's not going to be one of the ones that was voted as a fan favorite as well out of the list. 8 names confirmed as the new name for the Washington football team. The Armada, Presidents, Brigade, Red Hogs, Commanders, Red Wolves, Defenders, and football team within itself. Looking at that list, what is going to be the Washington football team's name when they announce it on February 2nd?
Well, first of all, it's about damn time.
Right?
It shouldn't have taken this long. It's not hard to pick a name. This is ridiculous. Now, the reason why I say that is because this isn't a hard thing to do. It took 2 years to figure this out. And they're finally, February 2nd. This is going to be great. It took you 2 years to pick a name. Just pick a name. Just pick a name. This doesn't have to be a 2-year-long thing. Now, some people are in favor of just calling it the Washington football team, but I just not a huge fan of it. But with what you put out there, I do like the Defenders, but it seems like it's kind of XFL-ish. I don't know.
Yes, very.
I mean, Brigade, meh. You know, I got a feeling that's probably what it'll be. Commanders, I could see. I kind of like that. Red Wolves, or that's another one I kind of like. Armada, Presidents, So yeah, I'd probably go with Commanders. I think that's the best one that I could look at with that. But if they stick with the Washington football team, it's just kind of weird. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. But Dan Snyder is going to do Dan Snyder things, so that's what's going to happen there. But I'd go with let's go with Commanders. I'll go with Commanders on this one. But I think I almost feel like that's a better name. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. No, that was going to be my choice too. Commanders, I think, out of this list. Again, this is going to be something branding-wise. It's just going to be very cringy and uncomfortable for a few years because it's like you remember the name that they used to be, and that was a staple, an icon for the NFL. One of the original franchises as well that played and was significantly better. Obviously, the connotation nowadays not very positive for pro football and everything. But yeah, you look at this list and it's just like, these are all kind of it's like, okay, is this like a minor league team? Is this the spring league team? I can't remember what there was a Washington team in the XFL, a couple of years ago when, the Sentinels. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, was it right? Like okay, good.
I think so, or we're probably thinking of the Replacements, the movie.
Oh yeah,
Probably it was something along those lines. But out of those lists, I think Commanders is probably the best way to go out of this list.
Yeah, but there's a part of me that's going to pick the Washington football team.
They would do something stupid like that because they got sewer pipes breaking on them. They got grandstands that are falling apart, almost ripping quarterbacks' knees in half, and all that crap as well. I mean that whole franchise is just one gigantic dumpster fire. And if I'm Chase Young and anybody, Scary Terry McLaurin, I'm looking my one-way ticket out of that hellhole.
Why does anybody want to play on that damn field? Honestly,
right?
I mean, torn ACLs left and right. I think Joe Burrow, Chase Young, fix your field. You guys are just, it's so absurd. Every person that plays at that freaking field gets hurt. Fix it. Put turf on there. Jeez.
Turf it up.
Honestly,
you got that FedEx money there, Dan Snyder. I don't know what else you're waiting for.
He's a clown. He's just, oh my God.
They put up that graphic of all the players that have gotten hurt in like the last 5-10 years or something like that, and it's significant.
Yeah,
it is very significant.
I mean, it's a freaking joke if you ask me. But not good. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Oh, and for sure if Jalen Hurts would have gotten hurt with those fans falling,
that too.
The Eagles would have been up in arms and they would have sued the ever living life out of Washington.
Yeah, they probably have a riot.
Oh yeah,
legitimately. So I don't know. All right, last one, Voldy.
Talks are going to actually be resuming. It seems that Major League Baseball and the Players Association are going to begin tomorrow, the first since the league was locked out December 2nd. So well over 6 weeks have passed by since the last time that Players Association, Major League Baseball even thought about coming to a resolution for a collective bargaining agreement and to set up a date. So early indications, right now, no news is no news. Can't say it's good or bad, but looking at the situation, obviously, we're at a critical point here. We're a little over a month away, sadly, and greatly that pitchers and catchers are going to start reporting for their major league camp. So I'd probably say at least a good 6 weeks for sure, end of February, early March or so, before they start even thinking about spring training games. And a new labor deal is in the talks right now, or at least set to begin with new talks coming up here starting tomorrow as well. Yeah. Looking at it right now, we are at January 12th. Tomorrow will be January 13th. Will a new Major League Baseball deal get done? And will the lockout end by the end of January?
Ooh, that's a great question because I feel like they've been at each other's throats ever since the pandemic, right? Or even before that, well before that. I hope so. I wanted to just because I think everyone's sick of the bickering and whatnot. It's just basically the only thing I can say is figure it out. That's all you got. It's just figure it out. Give the people what they want. Give the people what they deserve. The players, whether it's the owners, everything. But Manfred is a clown in itself. But I think it's going to get done. I just think you just can't mess this up. And once this starts March 31st, when I believe regular season starts March 31st, there's got to be there's got to be a off season. There's got to be, teams wanting to sign guys, this and that. It's just got to get done. It's that simple. They got to figure it out. They got to go to a middle ground and whatnot. But if it's going to get done, you got to get it done by January, or else you're going to be putting off stuff even more. And then also there's a pandemic, FYI. So
yep.
Yeah, I'll give it my stamp of approval. I got some confidence. I just think they're not going to miss out on money. So there's that. Voldy, what do you got?
I would like to say a deal will get done by the end of January. I mean, the fact that they're going to be a little over 6 them in the slightest, definitely not going to be good for them at all as well. But, it's going to be very interesting to see how that all develops for Major League Baseball, the Players Association too. Do I see a deal getting done by the end of January? Probably not. I would like to see maybe mid-February,
Okay.
3-4 good
That's
talks. There's a lot still on the table, obviously, with revenue sharing. They're talking about draft lottery, the universal DH, the minimum salary, obviously throwing in the fact that expanded playoffs, a lot of things that are still on the deal or on the table from previous labor talks, because we weren't too far removed from the work stoppage or what have you with the pandemic in 2020, and they had to come up with a whole new collective bargaining agreement just to get through that 60-game season too. I'm going to probably say I think it's absurd. I think it's probably going to be about mid to late February before a deal even gets done.
Well, something better than nothing. I'll put it like that.
Yeah.
So, I think we'll have a season. But anyway, great job as always, Voldy. Stories are fantastic. It's been too long, 2 weeks. It felt like 2 months, but we're back. And also, Shield shoutouts. We got some shoutouts to get to. We've missed some stuff, but it's time to get that rolling again because we got to. It's Shield shoutouts. It's a staple. It's a staple. Which could win best segment next week. We'll see. Hopefully. Best classic segment. Yeah, he's hoping. He's hoping and praying. So let's get it going. What's up, Shield shoutouts?
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, it's been a couple of weeks, and we've got ourselves a pretty decent list. Some good, some unfortunately not so good Shield shoutouts here this week. And obviously, we'll start off with, of course, the untimely passing of legendary NFL football coach and game innovator John Madden passed away just some time ago, scarily after the release of the All Madden documentary as well.
Yeah.
I'm probably not the only one who thought that was very suspicious. After that comes out, he dies a couple of days later. Rest in peace to Coach Madden as well. Obviously a pioneer of the game on the field, off the field, the legacy that he has. He has a video game named after his name is an actual verb within itself. And his legacy lives on through that as well. So rest in peace to Coach Madden for his contribution to the game of football and for sportscasters as well for his time in the booth as well. But we do move on to some good stuff as well. To MinnesotaWild's Matt Boldy, Massachusetts native, who played his very first NHL game and scored his very first NHL goal against his hometown Bruins on January 6th. A little mixed emotions with that, but hey, great to see a young kid come up and make an impact right away for the Wild, and hopefully the first of many in a Wild sweater for Matt Boldy. We do have to say happy trails. Former Red Sox pitcher John Lester announced his retirement from baseball after 16 seasons. It was announced here today that the lefty for the Red Sox, the Cubs, he pitched for Oakland, I think, at one point as well. He pitched for Washington the last year or so. Won 3 World Series, 2 with the Red Sox, 1 with the Cubs as well. Threw a no-hitter even after battling cancer and defeating that. And many more accolades to go along with it. John Lester retiring from baseball, and we thank him for that as well, including those 2 World Series with the Red Sox. And we do have to say, well, hopefully happy trails, and hopefully it'll be a good one for old Big Ben Roethlisberger, who announced his retirement, or I should say played his last game at Heinz Field, not this past Monday, but the Monday before, and actually got a win against the Cleveland Browns as well. This could be the end, but still got the weekend with Super Wild Card Saturday and Sunday as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that team does fare, even with the playoffs coming up here for Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And obviously, we got to wrap things up here. Another retirement, Seattle Mariners third baseman Kyle Seager, who is going to retire from baseball after an 11-year career, which he did announce on December 30th. Had a pretty decent year, couple all-star appearances. Obviously, his brother Corey still in the league as well, but Kyle Seager going to hang it up and, look on to something else in his career. So wish him best of luck of that. And we do actually have one bonus one that came out not too long ago. Minnesota Twins did announce that they will be retiring the number 36 for Jim Cott. Not the number 36 that probably a lot of recent Twins fans were thinking of, and Joe Nathan. But Jim Kitty Cott, of course, him being elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame, will have his number, the 10th number, retired by the Minnesota Twins. That'll be coming up here this year. And Jim Cott's number will live in immortality there at Target Field and being retired by the Minnesota Twins. That will do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
We love it. We love it, especially with John Madden. I couldn't believe it. Like, you weren't the only one. You weren't the only one that was like, whoa, that's crazy. Especially after the All Madden thing, which I still got to watch.
Seriously,
Papa Callahan keeps telling me you got to watch it. Yeah, I know, but I haven't been home. You know, that's the thing. But all in good fun. But Roethlisberger, I mean, that's it's got to happen. The guy looked like a statue versus the Vikings in the first half, I should say. But Boldy, I keep telling people, keep him in there. He's doing the right things. So, but other than that, great job with Shield Shoutouts. Boldy, one last thing. The Zoney Awards, baby, are next week. Let's go. It is our 2-year anniversary next Wednesday.
Next
Wednesday, baby.
Yep.
And we will have our polls posted on Monday. So make sure you vote for Best Guest. You vote for Absurd Statement. And then there's a new one. There's a new one that will be showing out, too, because there's a lot of clowns. But I'll just leave it like that. Leave it like that. But anyway, by the way, if you guys are feeling like you want some merch, we've got the merch, baby. We got hats, we got stickers, we got shirts. We're taking orders for sweatshirts. We are working Jimbo and take a look. Voldy's got the hats. People have been paying for hats as of late, so keep it coming. We'll get it sent to you as soon as possible. We are working on getting those to you guys as soon as possible. And $20 for the hat, $5 shipping, $25 all together. Same thing with the shirts. The shirts, 5 out of 5 stars. We know who you are. And Jack Vickers will be getting his bundle soon as well. So just remember, you guys pay for this. It helps us keep the show on air with our equipment and whatnot. And Jimbo sure appreciates it that you guys bring it in so we can keep it going for you. So we appreciate it. W2 Performance, our guy Will Littell, our two-time nominee for the Zoney Awards. Check out his stuff, W2Performance.com. He's got all the cool stuff. And then thank you to National Fleet Graphic. Thank you to Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. You guys are awesome. And then check out Jack's Junkyard, Jack O'Keefe. And then breaking into the league, our first-time nominee for Best Guest of 2021, Sam Gabrielli and Ryan Martin, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So we got a big week, baby. We got the Zoney Awards. We got our 2-year. There's a lot of good things coming your way, Zoners. Just know that. Just know that. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And next week's going to be fun. Episode 94 on our 2-year anniversary.
Wow.
So, isn't that crazy? We'll keep you posted.
So nuts, man.
Yeah, so nuts. And remember to keep track of our socials medias. We'll have all the polls posted. Make sure you vote and all that stuff. So we'll send them to you. You vote. Easy peasy. Easy peasy, baby. So we'll do it like that. All right, Shield. It feels good to be back, man. Feels good to be back in the saddle, man. So we'll keep you posted on everything. And we'll see you next week because, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.